iPads are very powerful devices like this one. Huge screen, super flat profile, beautiful designed iPad Pro M4. And on the first look, it does seem like the perfect device for photographers. But upon researching this topic for the last couple months, I discovered that many photographers use iPads only for Netflix and internet scrolling. They don't find much use cases for the iPad for their work. That's why in this video, I'm going to present you 5 use cases that might be helpful for your photography business, specifically if you're a wedding photographer. If you're new to this channel, my name is Magic. I'm a destination wedding photographer, Sony Europe ambassador, and I've been running this YouTube channel for the last 3 years, talking mostly about cameras, lenses, gear, software, everything around wedding photography. Subscribe if you're into any of these topics. So let's go straight into the main topic of this video. So number 1 of the use case for the iPad for your work. I'm actually gonna, simplify this, and in the first point, I'm gonna list a bunch of stuff that you can do with iPad that are kind of obvious, but they're gonna be really useful for your work. So here we have admin stuff, right? So iPad is a great device to deal with emails. I personally started using Superhuman for my email, so that's what I have installed on the iPad. And other than that, project management, so I use Notes and Notion. So this is a great device for stuff like that because it's very portable. You can always have it with you and work on some admin stuff whenever you need to. If you're planning to use iPad like this, I highly recommend getting the keyboard, Magic Keyboard and Apple Pencil, because that just elevates the experience with the iPad. Other than that, you can use iPad as a secondary display to your computer very seamlessly, and that works really great. So for those of you who work on laptops on the go but are used to a dual display setup, you can have your iPad just next to your laptop and have 2 screens, and yeah, it works like a charm. The screen is beautiful on the newest iPad. I personally used more of the second feature of the iPad, so universal control. So I have my iPad standing next to my main monitor, main display that I'm working with on my computer, and I can use my iPad with my keyboard and mouse by simply dragging my mouse over to the iPad screen. So whenever I'm calling or editing, I'm gonna be listening to some YouTube videos or some podcasts, and I can easily control that with my keyboard and a mouse that I'm working on my main computer without distracting myself, going straight to the second device. And all of those features, I'll call it the use case number 1. So kind of like a typical use case for iPad. You're getting an iPad and you're just most likely just using it for these things. So now let's get into how you actually can work on photos and use it for your wedding photography work. Most of the things that I'm just gonna list, these are going to be additions to the regular workflow that you already have. So stuff that you can actually do with your laptop, but I think having iPad just gives you just slightly more convenience due to the form factor of the iPad. And I'm gonna break this down at the end of the video after I list all those things. So let's get to the serious stuff. The iPad is a great choice to bring it to the wedding day because it's a small form factor. You can put it in your backpack, you can put it in your bag. And here are 3 use cases specifically for the wedding day. So first of all, you can use your iPad to back up your memory cards to the SSD drive. Specifically, all the new iPads with a USB-C port, they can manage files easily. You can get a dongle, you can connect memory card reader, you can connect SSD drive, and on the go, you can quickly just copy the files. This is going to be really fast. The only bottleneck, as always, is gonna be your memory card speed or your hard drive speed. The iPad itself is gonna be blazing fast doing all these activities. So this can save you some time, because sometimes during the down moments at the wedding, you can just simply get your all files on your SSD to save some time back at home. You can start working straight off the SSD drive. You could also back up your files from memory card straight to the iPad memory, but I do not recommend that because that will just eat a lot of space on your iPad. The next one, whether you decide to back up your files on the wedding day or not, another thing you can do on the wedding day is to prepare some snacks sneak peeks. So either for social media, right away, or maybe to share with your guests as a surprise. What I personally do, I print up to like 10 photos using an Instax printer, and I surprise my couple with like a little box with my logo engraved. The box comes from a company called Wooden Banana, and I give it to the couple, and they're like, they're not expecting that, and they always love it. And there are a few ways to prepare a sneak peek like that. So if you are doing the backup, obviously you can just simply have your hard drive connected to the iPad, pick some files using the files manager on iPad, import them to Lightroom and edit. You could do it straight from the memory card. So if you don't want to back up your files on the wedding day, you don't have time for that, you can just simply connect the memory card reader to your iPad and do the same thing straight from memory card. So pick few images and import them to Lightroom. The third option, you can install the app, the dedicated app for your camera. So for Sony cameras, it's going to be Imaging Edge and Creators app, depending which Sony camera you're using. And using this app, you can also import, some files that you're going to choose in the app. If you're doing this, just make sure you're importing RAW files. So you have to go to the settings and set the app to be transferring RAW files instead of small JPEGs. And those RAWs, you import them to Lightroom and you edit them as easily as you would do in normal Lightroom. You can have your presets on the Lightroom on mobile and just quickly make the edits and export and upload to social media or for any other needs. Both of these points I just mentioned, doing backups and sneak peeks, can be easily done with laptop. So iPad is just here, could be just more convenient device, or maybe if you don't have laptop, the iPad could be a way to go. You could also do it on iPhone if you have any of the new iPhones with the USB-C as well. But again, iPad is just like really convenient for these things. The next one is something I don't see many photographers doing on the wedding day, and that includes using a PicTime, which is a sponsor of this portion of this video. So if you are a PicTime user and you deliver your photo galleries with PicTime, you could set an iPad on some table with a pre-registration link to the gallery, so the guests can come up to iPad, put their names and emails, and pre-register to the gallery to see those photos later on. So if you then deliver sneak peeks or deliver the full gallery, they will be notified that the images are coming. And this way you're getting more eyes on your work. And this can be huge because I feel like very often our couples are not necessarily doing their best job of sharing the photos with the guests. But setting this up can just highly boost both the numbers of visits on your gallery and number of sales of the printed products in the gallery as well. From the technical side, you can decide with your clients how do they want to approve those registrations. So they can be either approved automatically upon signing, or you can set it up for manual approval by either you or the client, which in my opinion is the best option to let your clients decide who they want to share their photos with. And if you don't use PicTime, you gotta check it out. Like the features that are coming every single month are insane. My favorite recent features are face filter. So the visitors of the gallery can easily filter photos by faces that are in the picture. So they can just see their own pictures only in the gallery. The next one is vendor network, released I think a week or 2 weeks ago. So there's like now option to easily share your photos with your vendors, get them registered as vendors to the gallery, and it's beautiful. It works great. And the last one, crazy one actually, face scan. So if you are having like a wedding or event that is super private, you can set that the guests need to scan their faces prior accessing the gallery, and they will only see the photos with their faces that are in the gallery. Crazy tool, insane feature. That and many more available for PicTime users. Check it out and use my link in the description to get extra month for free. Okay, so the last use case of iPad is actually using it for culling and editing your photos on the go, on the couch. Maybe you don't want to use your main computer. Maybe you want to chill and rest and edit. Maybe you're traveling somewhere and you don't have laptop. You're only working on a desktop computer. The iPad can be great for that, but you have to set up a specific workflow to be able to sync the images between the iPad and your computer. There are a couple requirements on how you need to set this up. First of all, Lightroom CC, so that's the cloud Lightroom that is on iPad, can only sync with one Lightroom Classic catalog. So if you're making, separate catalogs for each weddings and photo shoots, then you'll be only able to sync one of these at a time with your iPad, which is not super convenient. I personally use one big catalog for all of my work, so I can easily create collections and sync them with Lightroom, so I can have like different photos, different photo shoots, synced with my Lightroom CC. The best part is that it syncs like back and forth. So I have my collection synced with my iPad. I can go and work on my couch, maybe culling, maybe editing. Then I go back to my computer and I will see the changes applied automatically. And I feel like editing photos on iPad, specifically the M4 one that I'm using right now, is blazing fast. It's actually faster than on my computer, which is MacBook M1 Max Pro. It's just so fast, and the calling on the iPad is actually so good. So in order to call on the Lightroom CC on mobile, you need to click the star icon on the bottom right corner, and then you only swipe up and down, adding either stars or flags. So like the workflow is actually super cool for calling if you call your images in Lightroom. The only thing is that you need to choose the collections that you want to sync. You need to create collections that you're gonna sync. And the syncing process is not automatically. It's not going to automatically sync all your photos. You have to select the photos collections you want to sync with your iPad Lightroom. For editing, my recommendation is to, mainly for those of you who are very strict about the color accuracy of your screens. So the iPad screen is amazing, but it does require, in my opinion, some fine-tuning and calibrating. So I personally am using the AZO monitor, Color Edge monitor. So this is like a pro monitor with its own calibrator. So it does calibrate itself every couple weeks. And I know that the colors are perfect. On the iPad, the colors were slightly warmer than here on my screen. So I needed to actually perform a calibration, which is possible on the iPad, and just fine tune those warmths. Like the two things, if you're calibrating or not calibrating, that you have to keep in mind, make sure to turn off the true tone for iPad, because that will just ruin your photos. Everything is just going to be too warm, because that's, the screen is going to be changing the warmth depending on the time of the day. And the second one is that you can actually set your iPad display into reference mode. So for editing, I highly recommend that. So this way you'll get a fixed screen brightness, which is, in my opinion, like critical to correctly edit your images and just better, the color rendition. So is getting iPad worth all of these things that you can do with it, like specifically as a wedding photographer? I'll be honest, I think each of you have to decide whether it is for you or not, and whether it does fit your workflow or not. For some people, a device like this will be great. If you have only desktop computer, instead of getting a laptop, you can just get iPad like this, have your collection synced in Lightroom, and work, simultaneously on both of the devices. So at home, in the office, you can work, on your desktop, and then on the go, you can work on your iPad. If you have a laptop, then you have to decide whether you want to bring laptop or iPad. Personally, for me, I'm a laptop guy, and I don't feel that much need of getting, expensive iPad like this. It's great, but all the things I can do with it, I can actually do on my laptop. So in my case, I probably prefer use laptop for this, and iPad would be just fun addition, if I want have a different way of doing things, like convenient stuff, not necessity. And is it possible to have only iPad as a wedding photographer? In my opinion, no. There is no way that you can, do everything you can do. on just iPad. I connected this to this big screen. I tried editing a couple images. The workflow is not that perfect for, batch editing, for editing thousands of photos, for delivering photos, creating albums. There's no apps that will work like the way you can work on a desktop. So in my opinion, iPad for wedding photographers is always going to be just the addition, and then you just have to decide, does that addition fit your workflow and help with your work? Let me know your thoughts on the topic and how you use iPad in your workflow. If you do, I'm really curious about that. I'm looking for ways to incorporate more of the iPad into my work. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the very next video. Bye.